In this video, we're going to continue embossing the various parts of this project. Going to spend particular time and attention on the rear frame and the barrel. These are the two most complex parts of the embossment. The rear frame consists of 4 embossments. The barrel also consists of 4, actually 5, counting one additional one that has to be done. First, though, I ran ahead just a little bit and set up 4 embossments that are very simple and that I just didn't think needed to be gone over in any great depth. They are the rear and front spindles. The spindle, well, that's what I'm calling the spindle, is a round shaft that projects from the frame forward that the cylinder revolves on. You've got upper and lower rails here, upper and low rails here, and in both cases the cross section is just a semicircle. So it's just basically a half cylinder, just like the cylinder itself, that'll be embossed. The 2 others are the very back end of the barrel here, which is a rounded piece. I'll show you the image of it in a second. And the charging lever itself, the actual lever. There's a piece it's a forging, so you've got a round cylindrical piece, then a flattened piece. We'll add that later. This actual ramrod or charging sub piston, I guess you could call it, is that's going to be a regular emboss, so slightly different. Just wanted to get these done and out of the way because I don't see any major need to spend time on them. Reselect the geometry on those, or rather just the cross sections. Have those turned off. And turn the embossing back on and regenerate, and you'll see them all appear in short order. So you've got the front and rear spindles, the breech of the barrel, and the charging handle. Alright, I want to start actually getting into the more complex embossments now. We'll start with the rear frame. This is going to consist of a 2-rail sweep that is, let me turn this off and show you the actual model. Essentially, you can think of this as a quarter of a sphere. If it was an orange, say, this would be the peel of the orange, this back part, and this dish cutting into it. There's a little shallow trench that's dished in there, and then this cutout is, in embossing terms, I'm just going to use a merge low and flatten that sucker. So, without wasting much more time on it, I've got my cross-sectional geometry already set up here. This is the skin of the orange, so to speak. The back part of it is rounded and going upward. The dish is this center area. We've got a very small angle that's going to be the little trench. And then this is just going to be a line emboss that'll be flattened down here. So we'll start with the 2-rail sweep. We'll name it rear frame round. Take the color that we've been using for the case hardened parts. This is going to be a merge high because it's going to ride up over the flat side of the frame down here. And I'm going to give it a base height of 0.325 so that it starts at the level of the side frame. So with all that in place, we'll pick our geometry. I'm going to start both rails from the top going down. So there's the first rail. Take the second rail. And then pick our cross-section geometry. And the way these embossments work, the start of the contour, which is where the arrow is on the cross-section geometry, pins to rail 1. So it's actually important to know which direction this one's pinned in. On a lot of these where you've got symmetrical things like this dish or the round part of the cylinder, it doesn't matter, it's symmetrical. But in this case it's asymmetrical, so it does matter which side that I've got pinned to which rail. So with all that in place, let's see what that looks like. Unblank and regenerate. Now here you can see the effect of the base height. It's brought this up straight up from the hammer. Not too concerned about that. That's going to look okay. Otherwise, that looks pretty good. So we'll ride with that. Go back to a top view. Alright, next I want the dished out part. I'm going to blank my emboss so I can see my geometry. I'm going to have two rails that sweep toward the middle, and they're actually going to meet. It doesn't really matter. And this is going to be the cross-section geometry right here. So two converging rails, so we'll go, wait, I need to start a new emboss before I mess up the last one. Two rail sweep, pick our case hardened color. In this case, it's going to be just a regular emboss. Leave it on add. The base height is going to be different this time. I experimented with this ahead of time and arrived at 0.47. Now I'll show you why in just a second. And that's all we need to have at the moment. I'll pick a rail, selecting toward my center point. Get my other rail the same way. So both of these are starting at the outside, coming in toward the middle. Now here's why the different base height. On the emboss that it's riding up against, I started at 0.325 and then went upward to an unknown position here. That depends on the width of your rails as to how high that's going to go because it scales. So when you start this one, this is actually your 0 point. So whatever your base height is, it starts from there, dips below the base height, and it comes back up on the other side. So because this is unknown, you just have to trial and error it. I started at 0.325. Let me unblank this real quickly. And what I got was the dish came up short. So the dish started here, went down, looked great, except that there was a vertical wall all the way around it. So I kept raising it up until the top of the dish more or less met the upper rim of this embossment, and that's at 0.47. Reselect my geometry. This is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way it's headed. I've got, let me make sure I have those two rails selected. I do. Okay, I'll unblank this and regenerate. And here you see that value that I put in for the base height has brought this up pretty close. There's a little bit of vertical wall on the outside there, but it meets here, and it's close enough so that the last thing that I do to this entire model, which is a smoothing pass, will smooth that right down. It'll look great. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is to add this little trench. This is a guide for putting percussion caps into onto the nipples here. You line a nipple up with the little notch here, you slide a percussion cap down, and it just slides right on. If the Indians are attacking, believe me, you want every little bit of help you can get to put your percussion caps on, because without those, the gun don't shoot. So that's just a very simple, it's a two rail sweep, it's just an add, no craziness there. It's just going to lie on top of the other embossment and dish straight out into it. Pick our color, click OK. I don't need anything in the way of base height. So first of all, we'll get our rails. We'll start from the front, go toward the back. There's rail 1. There's rail 2. They're both lined up in the same direction, so that's good. Here's our geometry. Again, it's symmetrical, so I don't care which way it points. We'll unblank and regenerate. And there it is. It's not as clean as you would want it to be. Right here at the top, you see it's kind of flat and a little jagged, but that's a small enough feature that the smoothing pass will straighten that right out. So I don't really have anything to worry about there. The last thing I want to do with the frame is the cutout. This part right here that cuts down through both of these features and just leaves a flat area. This is a regular emboss. I want to go with a straight vertical line with it. Give it 90 degrees so it's straight up and down. The height on this piece is, we'll give it 2/100ths of an inch. And the base height is 0.325, so it's going to start at the height of the frame here and rise up a couple of hundredths of an inch. There's actually a little bit of a rim down here on the photograph. You can tell that this is raised up just a tad over this plane. So there's our start point, there's our height, there's our vertical line. It's a simple add. That's not a simple add though, it's a merge low. If it were an add, then it would not work right with these. The merge low causes this to have a cliff here down to the flat that we want. Pick our color. We're good there. Pick our geometry. And I need to go back and name some features here. And we have the rear frame dish. The cap chute, we'll call it. And the rear frame cutout. Okay, so let me fire up the emboss, regenerate, and there's our cutout. This is pretty close to exactly what you see on the image. Let me blank this so that we can have a quick look at that. Top view. So you've got your outer part, your dish, the chute, and the cutout, and that all looks pretty good. Take one more quick look at that. So there we go. We're going to leave that part now and move forward to the barrel, which is the most complex part of the embossments on this pistol. Alright, so we're going to start with the barrel itself. It's a 2-rail sweep. We'll give it our dark blue color, name it barrel. Don't have any kind of a base height, it's just additive. We're just basically slapping a cylinder down here. I'm going to get rid of the embossment so that I can see the geometry, and select the top rail, which is just the top of the barrel. Okay, and pick our second rail, which is the bottom of the barrel, and then it swings down to this contour, giving us kind of a pear shape. There we go. Okay, and it's a cylindrical shape, so we want the semicircle. It's symmetrical, so we don't care which way it's anchored, and we will emboss that. Okay, next thing we want to do is add the bottom part of the barrel forging. We'll call that the barrel lug. It is a regular emboss. Give that a name. Barrel. And a color, it's also blued. The barrel lug is going to be a merge high. I'm going to leave it at add right now so that you can see what changes when I make it a merge high. It is going to be a convex ellipse with, we'll give it 5/100 over and make the height 3/8. So it'll be essentially just as wide as the frame here, but it will be rounded over just a bit. It's slight enough that the joint here will be pretty small. The smoothing will take care of most of it. It won't look like much more than a shadow reveal. No base height to do on that one, so we'll say OK. Like our embossing, so we can select the geometry. The top of it, as you'll recall, is the green line here, or green spline I should say. So we'll start picking our geometry. And before I actually do that emboss, I do want to point out one thing that has changed and that I have not mentioned. So there's our geometry. Back out, that looks good. It'll look better when I get a top view and can actually tell what's what. Alright, in doing these tutorials, you very frequently, once you've got a little experience with this, you run ahead and make sure stuff works, because after 15, 18 minutes into a tutorial, you don't want to find out that you don't know how to do something, or that you've forgotten, or that your numbers are no longer valid. This shape right here, the flat that we're going to put on the side of the barrel, that you can see defined here, the original one that I drew was a bit small, and when I applied it, it looked as if it was stamped into the side of the barrel. There was some geometry, well, some metal essentially projecting upward along the bottom. It was, a little vertical cliff was kind of going most of the way around it. So I enlarged that. Is what I'm getting around to saying, is that I made this piece of geometry a bit bigger and didn't tell you. So that's what happened with that. And looking ahead, I saw that there was an issue with it. Alright, I've got my geometry for my barrel lug. It's all set up. We should be good to unblank that and regenerate. Now you recall I did not make this a merge high. I just made it a simple add to show you why you want to make it a merge high. In this case, it's got a height set to it. It comes up here to the barrel and starts adding that height to the height of the barrel. And thus you have a piece that you don't really want. So we'll edit this, take our add and make it a merge high, regenerate it, and that goes away. What you're left with in this case is a little bit of a trench along here, and otherwise it just meets up. So the next thing I want to do is apply the flat to the barrel, and then we'll have a dished out concavity that goes front to back here. I want to blank my emboss so that I can see my geometry, and we'll apply the barrel flat. It is a regular emboss. We'll use a line, set it 90 degrees so that the line's vertical. give it a height of 0.325, and in this case, just like the cutout in the rear frame a little moment ago, we'll make it a merge low so that it smacks down and flattens things. We'll name it Barrel Flat, and we'll give it the dark blue color there. That should be good to go. We select our geometry. There we go. Alright, now let's see how that works. Alright, there's our barrel flattened down. We've got a trench here that I'm going to pick up. It's going to be modified just slightly with the next emboss, but it's still going to be there. I'm going to fill that in after we get this assembly fixed. Going to flatten this little issue back here with the sculpting tools. But for right now, we want to drive on to our last embossment of this assembly, which is the dished concavity. That is a 2-rail sweep. Go ahead and give it its color, give it its name. Call it barrel depression. Okay, this one is going to be a simple 2-rail sweep. We don't have to worry about anything because it's going to apply its cross section straight to the embosses below it, and not much more need be said about it. We'll blank the emboss so that we can see our geometry. Pick our 2 rails, which is the orange pair here. Hard to see when you selected those. Alright, there's the top rail. There's the bottom rail. You'll notice that it's decided that it wanted to go in a direction that I don't want. I want them to go front to back. So by right clicking on this, I get the option to reverse direction, and now those are lined up. This is the cross section I want for it. It's not a full semicircle, it's just dished low. It's symmetrical, so I can just box select it. I don't really care which way it's oriented. And we're ready to unblank. Let's get a nice view of this and regenerate and see how that comes out. Okay, it looks pretty bizarre so far, but it's actually just what you want. Got one last thing to do here. You'll notice that that last emboss actually went into this cutout area. That's because the let me get this oriented nicely. Because the 2 rails essentially end on this line, it embossed to this line. Don't want anything dug as deeply as that's going to dig. You can see it's actually gone well below the embossing surface here. So I'm going to add one last emboss to this area to fix that. It'll be a regular emboss. We'll choose line. Going to give it a height of, we'll say 3 thousandths. Make it a vertical line by going to 90 degrees here. It's going to be a merge high. It's going to lie over that emboss that is down below the plane of my stock. So we'll make it a merge high. Give it the same color as my background so that it essentially just disappears from view. The only real reason I'm doing it is when you cut this out, that's a big enough hole for the tool to get into, so it'll actually cut in a little more deeply there than anywhere else on the emboss, and there's no reason for it to. So that should be everything I need there. I'm going to unblank and select my geometry. Okay, and we'll regenerate that and see how it works out. Okay, that's now at the same height as the rest of it, and we are in pretty good shape here. Alright, what we're going to do is end this video at this point. I'm going to come back and I'll probably go ahead and set these next few embosses up just to speed things up. I'll unblank this real quickly and just point out the parts that I need to do still. Got the front sight. I've got this front lug on the barrel that engages the catch here. So the sight, the lug, and the catch all need to be embossed. This piston needs to be embossed. This capture pin for the barrel needs to be done, along with 4 pins. These 2 detents in the cylinder for the locking pin, these 2 depressions for the nipples and the nipples themselves. These are all pretty straightforward. Not a whole lot of fanciness needs to be gone into on them. There's maybe one here that I'll do with any major explanation. The rest of them are pretty simple, and I'll just go over them one by one and quickly run through them. And then we'll spend a little time with the sculpting tools to get this beautiful flow in this forging to show up in the right now pretty angular and ugly and got trenches in it parts that I just embossed. So one more video and we should be able to wrap this up, and I'm going to leave this one off at this point. I'll see you in the next video.